Hello, our team is here to talk to you today about the managerial decision making and global decision making processes and the strategies and tools that are used. It is very important to know how to make an effective decision in a company. This applies to the current market and globally. Throughout history, the decision making processes have changed by technology, in which we'll discuss today. Even though there has been an improvement in technology, the decision making processes have still been around. The term decision making has been around since the 20th century. There are different tools and techniques that are used for the decision making process, in which we'll discuss today. Some of these include decision trees, cost benefit analysis, and simulations. Overall, the decision making process is very important for a company's profit and employee satisfaction. First, we'll discuss the history of decision making.
Decision-making has been around for a long time and is constantly changing. The term decision-making was first created in the 20th century by Chester Bernard. He developed this term to modify how managers perform and complete activities. The decision-making process is not perfect. Over time, theorists and researchers have tried to find the best way to optimize decision-making. This process can still be seen today with constant innovations to improve productivity and efficiency within decision-making. A major concern that decision makers face is managing risk. Before mathematics and measuring tools, people believed they had no control over events, and so they turned to priests and oracles. Daniel Bernoulli, a Swiss scholar, created the scientific basis for risk management through a study of random events. He created mathematical tools to allow decision makers to estimate how much they are willing to bet in any particular situation. Sometimes making decisions in a group can be difficult and inefficient due to groupthink. This term was first created by Irving Janis in 1972 to describe when group members strive for cohesiveness rather than criticizing opposing ideas. Technology is a huge factor that has drastically changed the way managers make decisions. We now have access to the internet, which provides decision makers with a large variety of information. Tools such as decision support systems have also been created to support the needs of managers.
All managers and companies use decision-making processes to make decisions and to reach goals. There are different approaches to the process, but having one will help to ensure that the company succeeds. Our textbook uses a 6-step process of decision-making that is a general guide of what managers should use. A case study found during our research in an undergraduate management course uses an 8-step process that expands on the 6-step process. The steps in this study include defining the problem, identifying decision-making criteria, weighting and prioritizing decision-making criteria, generating alternatives, analyzing alternatives, selecting preferred alternatives, implementing and evaluating. Another company researched uses the RAPID approach, which stands for recommend, agree, perform, input, and decide. Even though all of these approaches are different, they all require the use of identifying the problem, generating solutions, making the choice, implementing the choice, and evaluating the overall decision to ensure that it is working.
We talked in class about some strategies for decision making, maximizing being finding an alternative that will end in the best result, satisficing is choosing the first acceptable option that will satisfy the obligation, and optimizing being identifying and evaluating all alternatives then choosing the best one. There are also some tools and techniques that can be useful for decision making. Decision trees takes a visual approach by using pictures to map out alternatives. The PMI technique stands for plus minus interesting and uses columns to evaluate the pros and cons. Cost benefit analysis determines monetary benefits. Simulation uses a business model that represents a real world scenario. Linear programming is a mathematical approach that determines how one can achieve max profit. And experience uses past experience and gained knowledge to help with decision making.
International companies approach the decision-making process slightly different. They start by evaluating the internal and external environment of their home country, and then for the international country and globally. They look at the economic, political, socio-cultural, technological, and legal environments, and for each of these categories, international companies have certain things they need to focus on. So for example, the economic environment, it's important to look at foreign investment policies. Many differences arise between the home country's environment, the international country's environment, and the global environment. And by assessing each environment carefully, the company will be able to complete the decision-making process both effectively and efficiently.
And here's an interview clip from a senior technical manager from Unify. And so we can play that.
Today I'll be interviewing Clayton from Unify. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, Chris?
Well, I've been with the company for over 20 years. My current position is Senior Technical Manager in our Innovation and Technical Global team.
Great. So I just wanted to ask you a few questions about decision-making in the management position. So are there any specific approaches that you normally use when making your decisions?
Well, being a technical manager, a lot of our decisions are driven off of data and off of analysis and trial work. Whenever we're able to collect enough data to make a confident decision with a lot of pertinent information, that's always the best way. Sometimes some decisions don't have the luxury of waiting for that amount of time. If not, then you rely on experience, collaboration with your teammates and coworkers as much as possible to build a consensus, because even though you may think it's a good decision, if your team is not on board with you, sometimes it can be met with opposition, or people don't put their whole effort into making things happen. And then the toughest decision are the very short-term decisions that you have to make without a lot of time to prepare or analyze, and then you have to go on instinct or gut feeling. Some people like to call it, for those types of decisions.
So overall, decision-making is very important to a company. The decision-making process includes various strategies and tools in order to provide guidance to a business. I hope you enjoyed our presentation today, and thank you very much for your time.